John. Now I'd like to call upon our own grown home member for Caulfield, Mr. David Southey.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Herzog. I'll come to you in a minute, but could I firstly recognise the Deputy Premier, Ben Carroll. Thank you for your support for the Jewish community, and he's always been very hard, particularly of late, for our community to have friends, and we do appreciate those, particularly from the other side, that are there with us and supporting us, so thank you to you, especially Ben. And yes, and the same goes to Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, you have done a number of things, and we really appreciate that, particularly where we had a number of motions put forward, and you stood bravely against those motions, against BDS, apartheid, Israel, all of those negative anti-Semitic sentiments that you stared down at the right time, and we really appreciate that. And to my great friend, who has been absolutely with me in the trenches all the way through, not just in the last 12 months, but even prior to that, when he was his first time around as a member for Hawthorn, and now as the leader of the opposition, stood proudly with me supporting the Jewish community in extremely tough times. I'm very, very fortunate to have you there by my side, and thank you, John, for all of the great support you have given to the Jewish community. So here we are, a community of peace, the Jewish community, a people of peace, goodness over evil, goodness always wins over evil. 20 years Chabad of CBD have been here, and we've outdone those pro-Hamas protesters that are gone, right? They're not at the front now, we're here, as we rightfully should be. And for many of you that work in the city each and every day, you know how difficult it has been. You know how difficult it has been where these protesters have not come to demonstrate freely, peacefully, respectfully, like everybody should, which is our democratic right to do so, but have there been to disrupt, divide, antagonise, and in a very, very harmful way, particularly to our community. And I have had it in so many different times from members of the community, particularly those that work in the CBDU, that tell me how hard it is, as it has been hard for me, to walk past those protesters without being abused and without being targeted. But we will always win, because goodness will always prevail. And our community has been strong during the last 12 months, as it should be, because it has been really, really tough for all of us since October 7. We had just came off Yom Kippur, that coincided with the Hebrew birthday of October 7. A time we will never forget. We will never forget, nor should we. But a time should nobody forget, including Victorians and Australians, that triggered what happened from that period thereafter. And those protesters are not there and hopefully won't be back. Those protesters want to cancel out what happened on October 7 and start to talk what happened afterwards. We will fight for peace, we will fight for what is right, and we will fight for Israel to be able to live peacefully and freely. Sukkot is a very important time because we were slaves. We fled Egypt for 40 years in structures like this. And we learned what it was back to be in nature, living and focused on faith. And where were we going? To Israel. We found Israel, and we will never be booted from Israel. And that is why the time of Sukkot is such an important period for Jews and for Israelis around the world. May we continue to live in peace, in freedom, and in the greatest country in the world, Australia, that celebrates those freedoms and holds the justice for all of us to live peacefully. Thank you, Rabbi Herzog, for what you do, because as Ben said before, this structure sits here as a reminder that people can practice their religion, practice their faith freely in Melbourne, and for those that aren't Jewish can pop their head in here, as Chip Legrand, who has done a fantastic job writing The Truth in the Age, and he was walking past and he asked what was happening today, and he's sharing a meal with us today, and that is what Sukkot is all about. That is why these structures are so important, and that is why your 20 years has been so important, to educate other people from without our from outside of our faith to understand what it is to be Jewish and share our multicultural traditions. Thank you very much. Hugs them out.
Thank you.